Welcome to my channel, Beauty and Love. Today we'll discover the truth behind the most famous love affair in history and find out what really happened to Paris and Helen. Did they live happily ever after? Or did their relationship have a more tragic ending? Let's dive into the historical records and find out. This is the host. And today we are going to look at the true tale of Paris and Helen, whose romance sparked a decade-long war between two of the most powerful nations in the ancient world. We'll explore the origins of this famous couple and uncover the shocking twists and turns of their story. Let's start with the meeting of Paris and Helen. According to Homer, the two fell in love at first sight. But the historical sources suggest a more complex and troubling picture. Paris was a Trojan prince known for his good looks and charm, while Helen was the most beautiful woman in the world. Yet their paths crossed under unusual circumstances. Paris was visiting the city of Sparta when he laid eyes on Helen, who was promised to marry Menelaus, the king of Sparta. The two fell in love instantly, but it was not a love born out of mutual respect and affection. Instead, it was a lustful and selfish desire that led them to betray their respective partners. Paris was already married to a woman named Heniosh, whom he had taken as his wife before leaving for Sparta. Meanwhile, Helen was betrothed to her brother's husband, Polydorus. So what caused these two individuals to break their vows and engage in an adulterous affair? The answer lies in their individual motivations. For Paris, it was simply a matter of lust. He saw Helen and desired her beauty, so he decided to make her his. On the other hand, Helen had a more complex set of motivations. She was unhappy with her arranged marriage to Menelaus, who she had never met before. Her father had arranged the union for political reasons, and she was desperate to escape it. When she met Paris, she saw a chance to flee her oppressive engagement and seize control of her own destiny. Their affair was kept secret for some time, but eventually Menelaus found out about it and vowed revenge. He called upon his brother Agamemnon, the king of Mycenae, to assemble an army and march on Troy to punish Paris and Helen for their betrayal. And so began the Trojan War, one of the most epic conflicts in ancient history. But what happened next? How did the war end, and what became of Paris and Helen? That's what we'll explore next. The Trojan War raged for 10 long years, with neither side able to gain a decisive victory. Paris and Helen watched from the safety of Troy as their former home in Sparta was sacked by the invading Greeks. They knew that their actions had caused this destruction and felt guilty about it. As the war dragged on, Paris grew tired of the violence and bloodshed. He longed for a time when he could be with Helen without the constant threat of attack looming over them. But Helen was unmoved by Paris's desire for peace. She had no intention of returning to Sparta and was willing to do whatever it took to stay in Troy. In the end, the Trojans won the war with the help of the god of wisdom, Athena. Paris and Helen were safe at last, but their happiness was short-lived. Their victory came at a terrible cost, and the city of Troy had been left in ruins. Paris and Helen's relationship was doomed from the start. It lacked the foundation of trust, respect, and commitment. Instead, it was built on lust, deceit, and selfishness. Paris was only interested in Helen's beauty and status, while Helen was only looking for a way out of her unwanted marriage. Their affair was nothing more than a physical attraction that neither of them could deny. But it was never something that could lead to a genuine and lasting partnership. Despite the initial passion, their relationship quickly deteriorated into boredom and resentment. Paris grew tired of Helen's constant demands for luxury and comfort, while Helen grew frustrated with Paris's inability to protect her. In the end, their relationship imploded, leaving them both emotionally scarred and disillusioned. According to some accounts, Paris and Helen never even married. Despite their passionate affair, Paris was already married to another woman, and Helen was still betrothed to her brother's husband. Their relationship remained a secret tryst, hidden away from the prying eyes of the world. But the secrecy only added to the drama and intensity of their affair. The constant fear of being discovered created a sense of urgency and excitement that kept the relationship from growing stale. It was until the Trojan War broke out that Paris and Helen were forced to acknowledge their relationship publicly. And as the war raged on, their bond grew stronger because they had to rely on each other for support and comfort. Facing the horrors of war together created a sense of unity and purpose that neither of them had ever experienced before. They were in it together, and no matter how bleak things seemed, they knew that they could always count on each other. However, their shared trauma also took a toll on their relationship. The stress and pressure of the war caused Paris and Helen to grow apart. They became more self-centered and less willing to compromise. Paris became more reckless and violent, while Helen became more manipulative and deceitful. Eventually, their differences became too great to overcome, and their relationship crumbled. When Troy was sacked and Helen was taken back to Sparta, Paris realized that he had made a terrible mistake. He had chosen beauty and fame over love and loyalty. He had betrayed his family and friends for a woman who didn't even love him. As he watched Helen disappear into the distance, he knew that he would never see her again. Some sources say that Paris died a hero's death in battle, while others say that he was killed by his own people when they discovered his affair with Helen. Either way, his legacy was forever tarnished by his betrayal and lust. Helen, on the other hand, returned to Sparta, a changed woman. She had seen the horrors of war and the destructive power of lust. She realized that beauty and fame were not worth the pain and suffering that they caused. For the rest of her life, she mourned the loss of her youth and innocence and the destruction of Troy. She spent her days in solitude, far from the glitz and glamour of the royal court. She never forgot the terrible price that she had paid for her brief affair with Paris. And so the tale of Paris and Helen serves as a warning to all who seek fame and fortune. Beauty and power are not worth the cost if it means sacrificing your dignity, your morals, and your soul. However, there are some inconsistencies in the historical accounts of Paris and Helen's relationship. Some historians argue that Paris and Helen never had an affair at all, and that the Trojan War was caused by other factors such as territorial disputes and economic rivalry. They point to the fact that Paris was already married when he supposedly met Helen, and that there is no solid evidence that they ever had a child together. Others argue that Paris and Helen's relationship was more complex than just a simple affair. They suggest that the two may have actually been in love, but their love was doomed from the start because of the political and social barriers between them. They point to the fact that Helen was taken back to Sparta after Troy fell, which suggests that her relationship with Paris was not considered legitimate by the Greeks. Regardless of the inconsistencies, the story of Paris and Helen has captured the imagination of people for centuries. It has been told and retold in countless works of art, literature, and film. The two have become synonymous with lust and betrayal, and their relationship is considered one of the most famous in history. What do you think of Paris and Helen's relationship? Was it just a lustful affair, or was there more to their story? Do you believe that their relationship caused the Trojan War, or were there other factors at play? Let us know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical tales. Thanks for watching.